thanks for downloading the show. It's Eric from Garden Fork. This is Garden Fork Radio. This is a kind of an extension of my YouTube channel, which is Eclectic DIY. It can be beekeeping or shower valve installation, which are two things we touch on today on Garden Fork Radio. Today, I thought I'd kind of do this thing where, you know how Jerry Seinfeld has comedians in cars? I have Eric on the phone. I actually call a lot of my friends and shoot them questions and stuff. And then I get off the phone and I'm like, that would have been a really good podcast conversation. So today I got to call a couple of people and I thought I'm going to record the call and then put it into, what's this thing called? The podcast. Yeah. So the first friend we're going to talk to is Kantor Lee, a regular co-host of the podcast. Then I'm going to call Will from the Weekend Homestead, who you've heard as well. And then a special guest, the executive producer of Garden Fork Radio.
I'm on my Skype.
Well, this is going to be part of a new podcast series called Eric Calls His Friends.
Oh, okay.
So I tried to call you on your cell phone and it didn't go through, so I called Will from the Weekend Homestead, and he made the mistake of answering the phone.
Yeah, damn.
And then I texted you, and then I tried to call your cell phone again, and I realized that maybe you turned on your Skype. So.
Well, you said Skype.
Oh, I said I was going to call you from my Skype. Oh, so you thought. Oh, okay. I thought you could read my mind.
Let me see what. I've got two here. Oh, just recently, with no caller ID.
Right, that's me. Because when you call from Skype to a cell phone, and it says no caller ID, I would suspect that you would not pick it up unless I said, I'm going to call you in a minute. But I didn't say I'm going to call your cell phone. That was my mistake.
Yeah. Do you know that I keep my cell phone on Do Not Disturb 24/7?
Oh, wow.
And only people who are in my call list ring through.
Wow. So the Skype. Yeah, so me
so the
calling
Skype didn't show up at all.
Yeah.
Well, I see it now when I went back and look at the record. But yeah, I mean, I keep getting all these calls, day and night, and some of them are hang-ups. And the hang-up ones are actually the worst ones because they're checking to see if there's a live person on the line, and then they sell your number. And then, because it's a live person, they sell it for a lot more, and then they get more. You get more calls checking on you when you sell you stuff. It's crazy. It makes me crazy.
Well, I have a quandary. I have a beekeeping quandary for you.
Oh, dear. What is it?
Well, I wanted to create my own nucleus hive and raise my own queen on the roof in Brooklyn, right?
Right.
And, of course, I'm making a video about it. So I have a medium super with what's called a follower board to make it a smaller physical space.
Right.
The size of a nuke. And I put in a frame of honey, a frame of pollen, a sugar feeder, a frame feeder. And then I pulled 2 frames from my really strong hive that had capped brood and uncapped brood and freshly laid eggs in it.
Okay, good.
And I dropped that in with the nurse bees. I kept the nurse bees on the frames. I made sure the queen wasn't on those frames. I put them in, and I just left it alone for 2.5 weeks, thinking they're going to sense there is no queen, take the freshly laid eggs, create emergency queen cells, supersedure cells, and raise a queen. And I opened it up today, and no queen cells. All the capped brood is hatched. A bunch of foragers and nurse bees roaming around, and nothing else. No queen.
Well, that is interesting.
Yeah, no sign of any queen cells.
Wow, and all the eggs are now good sized, aren't they? If they, 2 weeks, they're almost all hatched.
Right, they're all hatched out.
Yeah.
So what I did was I went back to my big hive, which is just booming, which has some queen cups, but not any swarm cells in it right now. And I pulled a frame of newly capped brood and freshly laid eggs, the little tiny white worm in the bottom of the cell.
Right.
And I drop that into my queenless nuke, my queenless queen rearing little hive.
And you kept all the other same bees in there, the nurse bees and the ones that had hatched out and everything.
Right. So will they try and draw a queen cell out of that new frame?
Did you think about just taking one of the queen cells in, putting it into your new frame?
They're just queen cups. They're not drawn out or anything.
Oh, I see. I see.
Some bees just create the beginnings of a queen cell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just because I have a couple hives that are full of them, and they're not swarmy. They just draw out some queen cup cells in case they need them.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That the first time it should have worked. And so I'm a little confused now. But, bees are bugs in a box.
Yeah.
And so they don't read the manual. If you put some cups in there, the little beginnings of the cups with some eggs, and then keep your worker bees and nurse bees, it should work.
Yeah, we'll find out. I'll leave them alone, but I think I'm gonna open the box a little sooner this time just to check and see if they've drawn out the queen cells.
Yeah, no kidding. Huh. I'll be damned.
That was a deep dive into beekeeping for everyone that isn't into beekeeping. So.
Yeah, well, it's like I say, they're bugs in the box.
But interesting. I go shopping at Costco like once a month for the power shop. I go there right when they open, and I blow through the place. And every time I run into this guy Patrick, who is recently retired, he watches Garden Fork, and he has no desire to keep bees, but he loves hearing about beekeeping.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, there are a lot of people. It kind of gives them the heebie-jeebies to think about trying to do it, but they still think bees are important to the ecology, and it's an important hobby for a lot of people, and it's kind of fascinating, actually hurting little bees and getting something useful out of them.
Yeah, as a hobby, it's a great way to be depressed, but it is kind of fascinating.
Yes. I just finished. I've been switching. By the way, I have abandoned Squarespace. I went to WordPress, and I've been working on my site a lot lately.
Oh.
And I finally got that review of the Garden Tower project published, and it's on the Garden Fork Facebook discussion group. Copy of it up there if people want to take a look at it. It's really handy for people who are having some mobility problems, like I have trouble getting down on my knees. But if you're in a wheelchair, or if you have limited space, like just a little patio on a sunny patio on a balcony or something, you can grow a lot of plants, probably as much as we'll need for all summer with salads and whatnot. Mine's kind of a salad tower, and it's a little pricey, but it's kind of fun. We're getting really good results with it. The bottom has a 2-gallon tray that collects all the drippings, and we've had a lot of rain lately. And so I have this perfect worm tea that I've been doling out to my other plants and then pouring back through the system, and it's pretty good.
Is this giant picture at bourbonandporchlight.com?
Yeah, that's it.
And I can see through to your neighbor's yard.
Yes. Actually, you can see through to the cemetery behind us.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I love this. This looks great. It's like the bottom of it looks like a shop vac. The bottom of a shop vac, the way it has the 4 wheels and the big orange tub. And then it looks like they put a series of rings on it with little indents that you plant everything. And yours looks fantastic. That looks like a product shot right there.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some more lettuces started. And of course, I'm a little late, and it's a little hot now for them. But
yeah.
I think I'm going to get some. And you can kind of move this around in the shade, and then it has its own bearing track, so you can turn it 360 degrees. And so every day I turn it 180 degrees to get more sun on one side. And then the center of it has a composting tube in the center with lots of holes for the worms to come and go. And I filled it full of of red wiggler composting worms, and we're putting our coffee grounds and eggshells, and when we're trimming up lettuce, or tonight we're going to have Swiss chard. When we're trimming it up, I'll be putting the refuse into that little tube, and the worms will be converting it into compost that either gets washed down as compost tea, or the worms eat it, and then they have free access to the rest of the barrel, and so they are busy making little tunnels and leaving castings all over. So it's kind of like a almost perpetual motion machine in a way.
It's pretty cool. I'm really impressed by this thing. Usually I kind of roll my eyes at this stuff, but hearing you, and then you have some nice pictures on this. It's bourbonandporchlight.com, all one word.
Right, or you can just do rhkennerly.com, either one.
Right.
It goes to the same place. But it, it's just if you're feeling like you're too old, or if you're in a wheelchair or whatever and can't get down on your knees like you used to, you can do a pretty full garden sitting in a chair next to it. And I think that's pretty cool.
It's great. By the way, a lot of lettuce seeds don't germinate if it's above about 75 degrees. So
I'm finding that out. Yeah.
Put them in a cool place to germinate, and then once they get going, you can put them out in the heat of the backyard.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Maybe I need to bring them back in.
See, you learn something when I call you.
I always learn something from you. You're one of the smartest people I know.
I texted my buddy Brian, who keeps the bees with me on the roof, and despite doing this for 3 years now, he still doesn't know anything. And I said, I say that in a loving way. But I texted him and said, our queen rearing nuke is a bust, and he says, why don't you call one of your expert friends? And I'm like, I am the expert.
I am the expert.
I'm the master of the obvious, So I don't know if he was sincere with that, or was that an insult,
Yeah. You can call people and talk to them. And everybody, what's that thing? You get 3 beekeepers and you get 4 opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody has a different opinion about it. Armory lot beekeepers, and pretty independent too.
I'm going to ask this queen rearing question on the Garden Fork Facebook discussion group and see what happens.
Okay. Excellent.
I've been very good about going on Facebook, looking at the discussion group, and then logging off and flushing my browser history.
I don't blame you. I try to participate in the group, although I have to admit sometimes I'm a little lax in it. And then another group that I deal with, and I'm still mad at Facebook, and I am abandoning them. Of course, now the problem is it looks like Google's even worse than anybody. So I'm going to become a Luddite. I think I'll just give it all up.
That's good, as long as you answer my Skype calls.
I'll always answer your calls, Eric.
What you doing, Rick? What you doing? Yeah. All right, so it's...
Well, we're getting ready to go and look at a Murphy bed.
Oh, good. We have one.
How do you like it?
It's fantastic because I will put junk on any horizontal surface, and the Murphy bed is in the guest room. And if there was a regular bed there, I would have it piled with junk. And because it's up on the wall and in a beautiful cabinet, I can't pile junk on it.
See.
And then you have that open space. You could do yoga there. You could exercise. I just love I'm trying to declutter. I just watched that minimalism movie again, The Minimalists. So
Oh yeah.
But go look.
Yeah, our problem is our bedrooms are really small. It's an older house, and we've turned our bedrooms essentially into 2 offices. Hers is a sewing room, mine's for whatever I'm doing. And once in a blue moon, we have guests. We've broken most of the people we know from coming to try and stay with us.
Do not come here.
But there's still a few that do persist for some reason, and so we'll have a place for them to sleep, and it's not bad. But we'd just like to get right now we're moving a whole bed frame and a queen mattress and a queen size sheet of plywood for backboard and that kind of stuff. And
That's a pain.
I chewed up my leg, this last time, and so we're just looking for something a little easier, a little more automated.
This is a double bed, and it you can get inexpensive ones. You can get kits. We got one. It's pretty nice. It has kind of it's an oak finish plywood front, and it has kind of a mission style trim pattern to it. It's it's simple, but it is so nice just to get rid of that mattress. And then when someone comes, it's counterweighted with springs, so
Hmm.
you tip it out. The sheet's already on the thing. You throw a summer quilt, a summer comforter, or a winter comforter on it, and then we have these like hotel suitcase stands. They fold up and then you fold them out, and they have a little ribbing across, and you can put your suitcase on it.
Right.
I sound like a homemaker here. Um,
Well,
but
this is a DIY thing. I
well, I'm
mean,
just trying to make it nice for my guests. So there's two of those, so they can put their suitcases somewhere, and then we have a desk with a power strip, and so they can plug in all their stuff that they want to charge up, and a chair. There's a chair in there as well.
so you're making it too nice for your guests now. Now they'll want to stay.
I've told your wife that she could come here. You might not, you or the curmudgeon, but
Well, I always wanted the pull-out bed that had that terrible bar right, or yeah, sofa, pull-out sofa that had that terrible bar right across the middle of your back.
yeah.
And most people, we had one when I was growing up, and I learned this from my dad. Now, most people wouldn't come stay more than a day or two. Um, she who must be obeyed is going to get me here. But anyway, we're running to the store, so we'll talk to you later, my friend.
Thank you for the call.
You bet. Talk to you. Bye bye.
It is very hot and humid here today. 87 in the city and ridiculously humid.
Yeah, spring just kind of becomes the middle of hot summer very quickly. So,
Yeah, we kind of went from nothing to ridiculously hot. But I've got. Have you ever heard of a band called Slayer?
yeah.
I'm doing their pyro tonight at the Armory in downtown Minneapolis.
Are they a Christian band? Christian metal band?
I don't know much about them. I remember them from a kid, but I guess them and a whole bunch of other bands are doing some kind of series of shows and little tours. But it's in the coolest building I've ever been in, which is Minneapolis had an old armory downtown that was defunct for years, and one of the byproducts of doing the Super Bowl was they completely redid the armory back to what it originally looked like and made it into kind of a venue to do comedy and bands and art installations and all this kind of stuff. And the building is phenomenal. It's from the late 1800s, and they completely renovated it, and now it's a state-of-the-art amphitheater.
Yeah, old armories are amazing buildings. There's a bunch of them in Brooklyn, and we've actually I worked on some movies where we shot inside. We needed a really big space, so we would shoot inside an armory for some really big scenes we had to shoot.
Yep. And they have the same thing, the big open arch, the big span areas in the middle where they probably stored all the tanks and big equipment or whatever, back in the day. And now they kind of restored the whole thing, put a whole bunch of history into the building, back into the way it was originally, but then they made it this facility that people can go to, and the prices for tickets are really reasonable. It's actually a really great deal and a nice addition to the city.
See, that's why Minnesota is just a very smart place, I think. They're just that kind of Midwest sensibility,
Well, it kind of helps when the Super Bowl comes to town and says, hey, we want to do some big venues here. How about we fix up this building for you in the process? And it's like, perfect, worked out for everybody.
There you go. Ka-ching.
Yep.
Slayer is not a religious metal band. I was wrong about that.
I'm gonna have to polish up on some Slayer music while I'm heading into the show tonight to to get to know the artist a little bit more. It's just a supervisor thing tonight, but since I had done stuff with the Super Bowl and we knew the facility, they needed a supervisor. So,
Well, I'll read you a paragraph here. From Wikipedia, Slayer is an American thrash metal band from Huntington Park, California. The band was formed in 1981 by vocalist bassist Tom Araya and guitarist Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman. Slayer's fast and aggressive musical style made them one of the founding Big Four bands of thrash metal alongside Metallica, Megadeth, and Anthrax. Well, there you go.
nice. Perfect.
So bring your earplugs.
Oh, I will tell you this, that when I got into this industry, that was one of the first things that I spent money on. Is they have a deal where they do a mold of your ear and then they make you custom earplugs, and a lot of artists use them on stage and stuff like that, and I got a set of those and I do not regret it. At this point in time, I wouldn't be able to hear anything with the number of bands and shows and things that I've been involved with, so I am very protective of my hearing.
Yeah, I spent high school in my friend's basement. He had a band, and they had a practice room within the basement, and my ears ring constantly. I think it's because of that.
Yeah, mine is, do you ever see those big cars that have the big speakers inside them? You can hear them from blocks away.
Yeah,
that was my first job. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go.
Oh, I was just going to say, that's what I did for my first job, is I built those cars back in the 90s, and it was a big deal. And, boy, if I could go back and talk to that young version of me, boy, put some earplugs in if you're sitting in something that's putting out 130 decibels.
Yeah, hey, don't do that.
Yeah. So what's the premise for the Garden Fork call?
Well, truth be told, I've often found that my phone calls with my friends like you, I always think, wow, would have made a really good podcast, at least part of a podcast. So I thought, like Jerry Seinfeld has comedians in cars, I thought it would be, maker DIY people on spontaneous Skype calls.
Nice. It's a good idea.
Are you in the car?
I am in the car right now, actually. I just left a Minneapolis parking ramp, and I'm heading to the south part of town to meet up with somebody. I got to pick up a laser level from him.
Oh, laser levels are great.
I'm doing a secret installation out on the property. It's not secret because I'm getting a permit for it and anything like that, but I'm not going to reveal what it is until I get more of it done. But it's a new building that I'm putting out on the property, and I'm doing the grade work for it right now.
I remember when laser levels first came out, they were very expensive, but man, if you had to like stud out and sheetrock a room, that thing was like golden. And now they're probably about $150. You just set them up, and you got this red line that spins around the room, and you can mark everything, and it's so nice.
Well, actually, this one's a little bit different. It comes on a small tripod, and it's used for putting in foundations. Like my buddy does foundations and concrete work.
Yep.
And you basically set this up outside, and then you put these little, I don't know if they're prisms or little reflectors, and you set them out, and basically you can shoot the lines, and then it'll give you the heights. So I'm trying to grade out an area to, build a foundation for this building,
right.
And it's really hard to do it with a 2x4 on a level. And he's like, oh, just come over and pick up my laser level. You can use it on Memorial Weekend, and then just give it back to me on Tuesday when you see me. I'm like, perfect.
Well, you're going to make a video about that, of course.
Oh, of course, yes. Yep. It's going to be an interesting project. It's something I've always wanted to do, and it's one of those things to hone your skills on. Like all the projects, I get into them to learn something new, and some of the things that we've done just recently have been that.
Yeah, I don't know I just put out a video about this shower. I put a new shower valve in the bathroom in the Brooklyn house, and I just had to bail on making the video because I just had to get the thing done. But initially, I was very excited about the project, and then on about day 3, I was not real happy. So.
It's actually really refreshing that you put that video out in the sense of, so on the side topic of the DIY stuff, you're very, very good at explaining the projects and going through the steps and things like that. But when you shoot a video, sometimes it takes, I don't want to say twice as long to do it, but it's almost easier just to do it and not explain it than it is to go through and do it. And to see you post that video as a creator, I kind of went through that same struggle. Like less than a week ago, I got sick and I didn't feel like shooting videos, and I still had to get things done and editing and things like that. And all of a sudden you put out that video going, yeah, sometimes I just can't always do the video. And I'm like, awesome. So I'm not the only guy.
Well, people asked that in the live stream, and I thought, you know, I was like, oh, this is a perfect way to address that. Here's a perfect example of why sometimes I just stop making the video because I just have to get the darn thing done. And now the shower works great, but it's interesting. If the shower valve is not completely level, up and down and side to side, the bathtub faucet part drips because, you know, you pull up the little thing and then it forces the water to the shower head. And then when you're done, that little valve always drops, and, you know, then it drains out and then it's done. But if it's pitched, mine is pitched backward, so it drips slowly and it drives me crazy. So I have to go, I'm basically going to bend the copper pipe. I'm going to heat it up and bend it so it's pitched the right way. But, you know, it doesn't say that in the instructions are horrible, actually. So I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, step 1 is call a plumber. Step 2 is don't do it yourself.
Yeah.
So I heard you were on I actually listened to it just recently. You were on the Root Simple podcast with West Coast Eric. That was a pretty neat show.
Yeah, Eric's very good at just getting me to talk. He just kind of brings up a subject and I yak about it for 8 minutes, and then he brings up another one and I yak about it for 8 minutes.
So I have to ask you this because you brought this up on the show, is you talked about the grow lamp, and when we did the live show on my channel, you talked about the grow lamp. My question is, when are we going to see pictures or video of the grow lamp? Because I'm very interested in that project because I'm thinking about doing that for next year because, you know, we've got seedlings and trying to get things going, and extending our season in Wisconsin is always great. And I'm curious to see what this welded project looks like.
Well, I haven't told anyone this until now, but you are my confessor, Will. So I lost the first part of the video. I lost the media. I deleted it.
Gotcha.
So, and I've been thinking I'll reshoot the front of it. But I'm like, I have to take the grow light apart to reshoot the front of it. And then after making the shower valve debacle video, and one of the regular viewers said, oh, really nice storytelling. And I've been trying to be better about storytelling in the videos. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to tell another story. I'm just going to say, look, I messed this up. So imagine I'm here talking in the shop about grow lights when I already have the finished one right next to me.
You know, so to talk about the process of it, I mean, I think people are inspired by seeing, don't get me wrong, I mean, the process to put it together is always important, but the finished project and what you thought about when putting it together helps inspire other people to do things. And, you know, I get putting together the whole piece and having all the pieces in there and all the steps, but, you know, sometimes just talking about what you did and what you learned and those types of things help people. And even making the commentary about having second backup copies of your media or a way to keep track of that stuff, you know, that's helpful too.
Yeah.
I think we've all been there when you've had an important email or an important file and all of a sudden it's gone and you're like, oh man, I just spent all that time typing that thing up and I have no idea, you know, where it is.
All right. Well, I think this concludes our conversation. I'm going to try and call another one of my maker friends here and see who's around.
Awesome. Well, you have yourself a good day, and we'll catch up shortly.
All right, take pictures of the Slayer show.
I will. I'll post a couple online or something.
See ya.
Hey there.
Is this Jimmy?
Is this Eric?
I was wondering if you I was wondering how your new job as executive producer of Garden Fork Radio was going. It's kind of like a feedback phone call to see if you like your new position. Is there anything I can do to make you feel more comfortable? You know,
anything you can do to take away the grueling parts.
it's such a hard job, isn't it?
It's demanding, but it's I don't know, how do you say, rewarding in its own way.
How are you doing, my friend?
I'm super duper. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm great. I just checked on the bees, and then I rode my bike home, and it's really hot outside, so I thought I'd come in and cool off and sit in front of the computer for a minute. So,
Well, my wife has no good feelings for anybody who complains about when it gets warm.
oh, I'm fine with it. I just needed to. I know when to stop now instead of pushing myself and killing myself. So,
Well, I'm talking to you from the crawl space of a house because there's people mowing grass outside, and down here it's nice and cool. And with the door closed, it's quiet. For the sake of the listeners.
I just talked to Will from the Weekend Homestead, and he's in Minnesota. Now I'm talking to you, and you're in North Carolina. We're like all across the country.
There's your weather report, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been picking strawberries for the last couple of weeks.
You sent me a beautiful
I gave,
picture of those.
Well, thank you. I fancy myself somewhat of a photographer.
In addition to being executive producer of the largest podcast in America.
The #1 live YouTube show that Garden Fork's ever put out in America and the world.
So,
But I've been having to give strawberries away. Little do you know that you do get sick of them. Strawberry cobbler, strawberries on your cereal. You come home, just have a couple of strawberries, and now I'm giving them away. The neighbor girl across the street was sick in the hospital for 4 or 5 days, and when she came home, I give her dad a cup of strawberries, and he said, we go pick strawberries every spring, and this is, with her being ill, we didn't get to go. And I said, well, come over. I got an 8x10 or raised bed filled with strawberries. Come over and pick strawberries, please.
that's great. That's the beauty of Garden Fork. It's just kind of celebrating the good stuff that we do for each other, you know?
Yeah, I told him that I don't have the garden locked right now. I got that 6-foot fence, the screen door, and sometimes I have to lock it about tomato season when people are getting ready to go out of town. They want to take some nice tomatoes to the beach. We won't bring that up. That's years old. I'm way past that now.
You need to let go.
I do. I have.
So we have wild strawberries that grow in the kind of the brushy areas along the forest edges here and in the little fields, but don't like chipmunks and varmints eat up all your strawberries?
What I see every morning is birds, and I don't know what we call them. Me and my wife say we have our own little names for the birds, but they're the ones that will like shoot down and try to take the hat off your head, and they got little white tips on their wings and their tail.
Mockingbird.
They're always in the garden. What are they?
They're a mockingbird.
Well, they like strawberries, and they're easy to see down there in the morning. Pull down the shade in the bedroom and look, and there they are. I'm like, oh, time to go pick strawberries. But I have caught squirrels down there. And day before yesterday, I come down and I totally bum rushed one who was in the garden, and he didn't have a quick way out, and he had a strawberry in his mouth. And he finally went up one of the poles at the corner, and when he jumped off the top, which is 6 feet high, and he lost his strawberry. He had one of the good ones.
But you just composted
I'll have
that
to send
strawberry.
some onions. What's that?
You didn't eat that strawberry, right?
I did not. I pick up all the ones that have been picked at, or ones that have gone a little, rotten on one side, and I collect those in a separate little thing, and I leave them out for the birds up front. They don't last very long.
All right. And what about your onions then?
Oh, I got 3 kinds: red, white, and gold. And I planted them last fall, and now they're about 3 feet high, and they're starting to have the little flowers come on the end. So I've been on a rash of giving them away to people. But I think I like the tops more than the bulbs, and the bulbs are bigger than they've ever been. They're
So do you plant them by seed?
No, by little. Here you buy like a pack of 50 of them, just all twined together and stuffed down in a box with like wet straw. And then plant the little onion.
And then is the top like a flower or something, or?
The very tip top, the stems that come up when they get to this time of year, they start like getting fat in the middle.
Yeah.
Like you could hollow it out and use it like a drinking straw, a big one. And the top starts to form a flower, and then it flowers. And I let some of them go to flower, but by that time, they're ready. It's like something that's bolted, I guess.
Yep.
You need to get it now because it's not going to get any better. So they're kind of at the point now where it's getting so warm, they're a cool season crop. It's time to get them out and maybe plant some late tomatoes or corn. God knows I don't have enough of those.
Yeah. Do you have corn in now, or?
I have corn that's been in about 3.5 weeks, and I planted it in the one bed that gets the most sun, which has always been peppers, tomatoes, and the things I really want. So I finally decided, all right, we'll try this crop rotation thing and put corn, like in three long rows. And I made rows in the raised bed, which I've never really done. I usually just plant them with them flat, like 6 to a raised bed, but it's corn and then some kind of a pea. It's like it's not a snow pea. It looks more like a green bean that you pop open. It's got peas in it.
Oh, all right.
And now the corn has finally grown up, about a foot tall, and those things my plan is that they'll wrap around the corn.
Yes.
And I won't have to, they'll find their own way. And I planted so many peas, I'm going to have to thin them out, probably by like 33%.
They can be pretty aggressive, peas, so.
We go for it. I mean, the whole giant corn stalk, you're lucky to get one good ear of corn, and 2, you're really doing well. And so I'm more in it for the free tobacco steaks.
Yeah. My neighbor grows corn in his field, and the coyotes come out, and they know just when the corn is ripe, and they knock down all the rows of his corn stalks and eat the corn.
Wow, I never thought of a coyote as an omnivore.
Yep.
Wow. I guess maybe if they're starving and hungry for sugar, that's the place to go. And their noses know, just like the mockingbird does, and just like the squirrel does, the strawberries are ripe right now. You should have got out of bed.
Yeah.
I take what I can get. I try to plant enough for everybody.
Well, cool. So do you have any kind of deep mysteries or deep thoughts or questions while you're in the cellar of the house there, where it's nice and quiet and cool?
Well, I don't know. I found a certain calmness here. It might be my new spot. I'd probably leave a garden chair over here the next time I have to come back.
Uh-huh.
And garden fork chair.
Yeah.
No more deep thoughts. It was just lovely catching up. It's been too long.
Yeah, I mean,
gotta get the space rocket history guy on here, right?
Oh, I listened to more of the space rocket history. I'm to the Apollo 11 landing on the moon.
Oh, how glorious! You're just now there.
Yeah.
I like that. I like you went through the back catalog and didn't just cherry pick.
I think when we get Mike on as a guest to Garden Fork Radio, you and I will both have to do our best imitation of Mike, the host of Space Rocket History, because I think I can do his voice now, and I can do the little. He says the same things in every show,
He certainly does. I wrote to him about that so early on with a few things, and that's just, I guess that's a fault in my character. But I know he's from North Carolina, and we're 50, 70 miles apart. How can things be so different? But back in West Virginia, all you had to do was go over the hill, and people talking a different language.
Well, you and I will see each other soon because now have family living in Charlotte, and I have to go visit them. So you are going to be my excuse to run away.
Oh yeah. Do you golf?
No, I can't. I blew out my back.
Say yes.
So
no, say yes. 2-day golf excursion to Hilton Head. It's going to be a side trip.
Good seeing
Bring
you.
a microphone. All right. Well, that's glorious. I knew we were one day going to catch up with some family member that had a place at Myrtle Beach you went to, but Charlotte is only 100 miles.
All right. Well, we'll meet in the middle somewhere. Maybe at do they have Waffle House down there?
This is Waffle House territory. Yeah, Waffle House is open when there's a hurricane. They're like the people's FEMA.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm out of milk. Waffle House has got milk. Don't worry.
All right. Well, I just wanted to check in.
That.
I know we have our regular business meetings every week to talk about producing Garden Fork Radio, but I thought a casual conversation, people might like that. So
this is a welcome change. All right, Eric. Great talking to you as always.
Thank you, my friend. Garden Fork Radio's executive producer is Jimmy Goots of hollowbooks.com, and our music is licensed from uniquetracks.com.